You've returned. You wouldn't return. Ages to rescue me. I'm Achenar. My brother, I beg you. To be complete. Always blue pages. Listen to him. Now listen to my brother. An egotistical fool and a liar. Bring me the blue pages. The red one. Don't bring the red one. I implore you. I've been wrongfully imprisoned. You must leave. I will have my retribution. Please bring me the blue pages. Pages, please.
Well, they're not exactly conversationalists, are they? All they want to babble on about is red page, blue page. I guess if we want to have a civil conversation with them, we're going to have to get the pages so that they can actually see us. So, next we'll be doing the mechanical age. Now, if you remember back to our notes, you'll remember 240, 221. Now, you'll notice a clock and a couple gears here. If you twist it, the clock changes. So what we're going to be doing is setting it up so it says 240. The little one controls the hour. The big one controls the minutes. Once it's at 240 like shown, click. And you have access to the final marker switch, which you should turn on, though that importance won't come until later, and a new door. So, 221. Now, this one controls the top row, and this one controls the bottom two rows. Yeah. What I didn't know is if you actually held it down, then you would be able to rotate this middle part independently of the bottom row. For the longest time I tried to rotate it just right so that these matched up and clicked over until I got frustrated and just and it becomes a very simple puzzle. We'll notice that the gear has rotated, so there's nothing there. You remember a different gear that we might have seen earlier, don't you? Interesting side note, the grave of Tiana. If you want to learn more about Tiana, I highly suggest that you pick up the Book of Tiana, which is available online or in part of the Myst Reader, which you'll get the other two Myst books as well, the Book of Achenar and the Book of Dunny. Now let's go to Mechanical Age. So, here we are at the Mechanical Age. We've already seen a circular puzzle. Not sure what that means. Right here is a little steel wall. If you read the book, you will notice that it looks strangely familiar to a collapsing staircase. Perhaps that's what the code we need is for. So, here we are in Achenar's room. Quite disturbing. They each have their own thrones. here is another room. Unfortunately, we can't go in through the glass, so we're gonna have to figure a way to change it. Now this looks strangely like the outside, does it not? Let's push this button and see what happens. Sure enough, collapsing stairs. Now down here is a somewhat tricky puzzle because this thing wants to rotate quite easily, even after you let go. So just do kind of small motions until this outer circle lines up with the inner circle. It will turn red. Okay. Click the button once more to raise the stairs. You'll notice the elevator is now open. Let's check out Syria's room real quick. And crystals. This will become more particular in the Rime age, but fans of Ribbon and Myst 4 will surely recognize what they're used for. A telescope. For the longest time I actually thought that telescope was part of an integral puzzle, as was this little clicking bird, but they're just little knickknacks. There's a replica of the Stoneship and Sirius' throne. Again, you'll notice that Sirius' throne is very lavishly decorated, while Achenar's is more tribal. Now, speaking of Achenar, there's one last thing in his room we're going to want to pay attention to. The hard part is if you're tone deaf, this puzzle will be very difficult. But I suggest you write it down. Now, we're currently pointed south. Now, if you listen carefully, you'll see what sound south is. It sounds like a tinny sound, kind of like a frying pan or a tin can getting hit, correct? Let's rotate it back on, or rotate it to the east. And you'll hear a pressure release. So, write down in your notes that a frying pan sound signifies south, a pressure release east, a mechanical ding is north, and west is kind of a cricket sound, perhaps a frog, whichever you prefer to think of it as. Now, remember that diagram I showed you to remember about the mechanical age? That's because in this room is a hidden passage that's actually shown on that diagram. There's one in Sirius' room as well. For starters, let's get Achenar since we're here. Wow, and a cage and various poisons in the blue page. Seems like Achenar is kind of dangerous. Oh, and a bloody knife. So, it might not be too far-fetched when we say that Achenar is pretty crazy. Now, this is kind of a strange concept for an elevator. Up, down, and middle. Not sure why you'd want to go in the middle. Maybe you like being trapped. Maybe you're pretending that there's a zombie outbreak and the power gets cut or something like that. But I'm sure we'll find a use for it. Sure enough, on the top of the elevator are controls. So let's push the middle button. And it counts down. Very strange for an elevator. So, we're facing south. What we want to do is we want to rotate it to the east. one direction. East. So we push the button. And now that we have rotated the tower, let's go see what effects it has caused on our area of exploration. Now, we're here on this smallish island. You can see that the starting area is over there, that there's another area over there. But first, 2 symbols. You'll notice that there's space for 2 more right here, so if I were you, write it down, but write it so that you can fill in 2 more symbols later. You can see that there's a similarly shaped pedestal on the other island. I think that's one of the main reasons I really like Real Myst much better. Simply because you can look off into the distance and see details. In regular Myst, you can only see what they're giving you the option to see, which makes areas such as Channelwood much more difficult because of the maze-like nature of the huts. Especially things how you cannot look around and see the areas around you to see where exactly you are in relative position. So, we're going to want to rotate it north. Okay, north. Click. Let the elevator come back up. Now that we're north, we can see what Sirius was looking through his telescope at. Pretty disturbing. Not sure if we should trust him. But since we're north, you have the last 2 symbols. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are beginning to wonder why the sky has changed. That's because I actually recorded all of this earlier and it did not save. One thing I did notice while I was replaying it was that if you rotate the elevator on the south side too far, maybe it'll still be red, but the elevator will be closed. You actually have to do it pretty slow because it will actually rotate a little bit over, which keeps the glass there. You want it to rotate until it turns red barely, and you can see the gears completely stop. So, continuing on, we're going to skip west because there's nothing out there. We're going to go directly back to south. Now that we have our code, we're able to leave this page. We'll be able to give Achenar his page back. Now, if you remember the code written down properly, it will be this half donut thing. Looks like a donut that's got a bite missing out of it. Perhaps maybe because Homer bit out of it when he went behind the bookshelf. The second symbol are 2 triangles and a rectangle. Right there. The third is what my fiance calls a moon over 3 mountains. The last one I've just passed was the half circle. Hit all 4, go down the stairs. Sure enough, Myst.